Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up and try for Bobrovsky.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. Get to finish our Christmas off with the proper team list, so pretty excited about that. Let's start off, Glenn, mate. How was your week, mate?
Mate, I had a fantastic week. I went to the Star Hotel with all the other super coaches, a few hundred of us there. What a frigging day, eh? We had an amazing day and enjoyed 2 games of football and a bit of everything else. It was a great night.
Yeah, I was obviously locked away down here in Canberra. I didn't get a chance to go up and see that, but I got to see all the live streams. Looked pretty bloody good. Looked very good, actually. I was very, very jealous about that, so I might need to make the trip up if it happens again next year. So
Yeah.
It looked real good. Yeah, a few games on the weekend. I personally didn't do too great, didn't do too bad. Not really happy, not unhappy. I had Latrell, so I'm happy with that, with 110 there. Lucky for me, I didn't end up putting the VC on him because that'd be a bit of a dilemma myself. But I wanted to really put the set captain on Ponga, so I had no choice there. But I'm sitting there around 249 at the moment. A few disappointments I had. Obviously, the Piakura, a lot of people had him. Tupanua, another one. Looks like a groin injury there for him. We're not sure how that's going to go. And then, we also have Piakura down in the first few minutes, but everyone had him. So, but I think my biggest worry, personally in my team, was Totola. I brought him in thinking a bit of a pod there, and he did nothing interrupted. There's no excuses, no injuries, nothing, and he's still got a measly 36. So, a bit unhappy with that. Depending on what happens with Lenu, I'm thinking that I might potentially go Totola to May. Might be a sticky little rage trade to start of the week. How about yourself, Glenn?
Yeah, May looked very good, mate. I was very impressed. Geez, just before we go any further, you must have been very nervous watching Turbo. He crossed the line twice, 2 tries disallowed. One of them was 100% a try, in my opinion. The other one, I'll give it as a bobble. But, geez, I would have been a nervous watch.
I was very, very biased with that one that you think was a certain try. I was saying, no, it wasn't a try because I was very biased. And I know when we're watching footy, we all have a one-track mind, and that track mind is my Supercoach score, and I did not want him to score. So I am sticking to that decision that it was no try. So
yeah, it's very funny how we see it, the way if we got the player, mate, it's a try. If they don't got the player, it ain't. So starting with the Manly game and South's game, I thought South looked very weak up the middle. But I liked what I saw from Manly. I thought Luke Brooks was active. I thought Ola Kawatu was awesome. I thought Garrick looked good, and Turbo looked good coming off of young Brooksy. So I think it's an interesting season there. I had Burbo, obviously, and I had Turbo, and not unhappy with each. Right play, wrong result for Turbo. He definitely could have got me some more. In the Brisbane game, I had I had Stilly Tupanua, the Roosters, and I had Piakura. So I got both. The only 2 players I had in the game both went out. Gish.
yeah, ouch, that's not good. Yeah, I was hanging with Broad, so I was doing my best to cheer on the Broncos. And then when my Piakura went down, all I did was want to cheer for the Roosters so Tupanua could score for me. And then he goes down, and I was like, I give up.
Everyone's going about how poorly the Broncos play, but I don't agree. The Roosters and Manly were both very aggressive. I thought Roosters were up and in the front of the Broncos the whole game, giving it to them. And Manu, as you know, was pretty much the difference between the 2 sides.
Yeah, I think people are talking up Brooksy a little bit too much. I think Brooksy got that easy walk-in try. I think he put that kick in and almost got a try assist, but that was an accidental kick. He messed up, hit him on the shins, and it was a terrible kick. I really, Supercoach score doesn't really, it says he got some decent points. I wasn't overly impressed by him. I think there was a part there where it was about probably 25 minutes in, and me and my mates watching the game were like, what's Brooksy done? And then all of a sudden he gets the ball, and then you see him finally, but he hasn't done anything. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In the first 20 minutes, he was very quiet. And I think from a super coach perspective, he could be very trappy because DCE and Turbo dominate so much. You're going to, on that left-hand side, Turbo's going to get the try assist on the sweeping fullback. And on your right side, DCE is going to get it. But what I did like from Brooksy was after 20 minutes, he started playing left and right. And whenever you've got a 5'8" playing left and right of the field, that's always conducive to points. So it'll be interesting to watch him. You know, I'm a bigger fan of Brooks than you are. I mean, I've been a Tiger supporter my whole life. I've always thought him being the whipping boy for our boys. And I most players that leave our club, I hate with a passion. This one I love with a passion. I hope that the guy does well for himself, just so Brooksy can get that monkey off his back, mate.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that doesn't like people. I think if I see a guy, I'm always going to be happy if he's had a poor season and all of a sudden he just picks up and shows that form, then that's good for NRL, and that's what I want to see. So
I don't like Cody Walker.
Yeah, I'm not too fussed on. Like, I watch the game and you see, like, I played footy myself as a kid, and so did you, I'm assuming as well. And then you meet these guys that are just pricks on the field, and then you meet them off the field, and they're the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
It's just they change their persona on the field. Like it's just how it is, and like I think that what they're saying, JWH, Jared Weir-Hargraves. Apparently, he's one of the nicest guys on the field, but he just changes and he gets that persona on the field, which is what you need in a big front rower. So I
relate, bro. I'm a madman on the field in any sport. I'm the loudest bloke there, and I'm usually yelling at my own players. I'm horrible, mate. I'm horrible to the others. I'm horrible to my side. But the minute I step off the field, I like to believe I'm one of the nicest blokes on the planet. But on the field, I seriously, it's something in some people, they just compete. They just want to win, and that's how I am when I play. And I feel like that's what you want. And look, I can't stand, like, you know, I come from the game in the 70s and the 80s, you know, where a bloke like Walker gives a bit of cheek and is a bit of a love tap or a Liverpool kiss, you know. And these days he gets away with so much. And if I played rugby league and I was on the money they were on, I'd bop him and pay the fine. Sorry, Cody.
Love it. Alrighty, let's move into the team list. So, I haven't used this for a while, so I'm gonna push a little team list intro. So,
ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
There we go. I haven't pushed that button for a while. I'm pretty happy with that. So, awesome. All right, let's get started. Thursday night. Knights taking on the Raiders. We'll start with the Knights, mate. So, I'm not going to go through the whole team list. We've all pretty much gone through it. But big name in this one that everyone's hoping does really well after Latrell on the weekend is Ponga. Really hoping does really well.
Yeah, there's a couple in this side. Dylan Lucas, and Kalen Ponga will be the two that stand out. Maybe a couple have potted up and gone Greg Marzu. I just look at Ponga and he just looks lethal. That game he played, even in the trial, he was bumping off people like a pinball machine. You know, he looked solid, he looked ready, and everything that goes through the Knights goes through Ponga, which means that he can't not do well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on it before with Dylan Lucas, but like one thing I'll be really looking at in this game is to see what they do with the rotation between Dylan Lucas and KPP.
Well, I've been looking at that, and let me just answer you to that. So I was looking today at this bench, right? You got, so the placements that are going to be needed are Jacob Safidi, Thompson, and Elliott, right? So Cogger could even come on for Elliott at lock, and then I reckon that Hetherington and Safidi come through the front row. So I wonder what that does for KPP. Does he spell Lucas? Does he go to lock? What does he do? You know, so Lucas, I'm concerned. I'll be watching with interest to see if he plays out those minutes, mate.
Definitely something I'll be looking at. So,
yeah, I'd suggest to all coaches really study the benches because that's where it's at. When if you want to try and work out rotations, look at who's on the bench. You know, and that bench. You know, I don't know if Cogger comes on from Crossland, but Crossland's played a lot of 80-minute games, so my gut tells me he comes on at lock.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So. Yeah, no, I think so too. I think I reckon they're going to be trying to go half and half with Lucas and KPP. That's what I think they're going to do, just to give Kai a bit of a run in NRL to get that fitness up. That's what I think they're going to do. I could be wrong because we all know that Dylan Lucas can play an 80-minute game himself too. He did it a few times last year pretty well and very effectively as well. So
if you notice the evolution of the game, there's a lot of coaches now carrying a third rower on the bench, and they're playing their second rower 60 minutes. And it's happening with a lot of clubs where they'll play, one, then they'll move him to the other side, bring one on, take him off, bring the other on, and it sort of works out 60-60-40, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And also, it's not a really bad NRL-wise, not a really bad technique. It's not good for us super coach-wise because we want to have an 80-minute second rower.
That's
But
right.
it's a pretty good technique when you want to get those edges. When you got the edge forwards on the other side are getting a bit tired because they've been defending the whole time, and then they just get a fresh second rower on there to run through some gaps. So definitely a decent little option there. So
if people need a cheap bottom dollar second rower anyway, KPP is named on the bench. I think there's some better options coming up, but we'll talk about them when we get to that.
Yeah, I had KPP in my team, but I was not sold on keeping him. I'll probably will get him eventually when after his minutes start to get more secure.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the Knights, mate? We're looking at really not many other options in the Knights. You got what? I think he's just priced out, and that's Crossland in the hooker position there. He's definitely priced out, and he's not bad. He's not going to be there long enough, is he, with Brayley coming back?
No, I think if you're looking for a pod and you're prepared to pay up, I think anyone in that back line from Ponga right up to Marzu is of interest. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be unhappy owning any one of those backs from the Knights. Preferably, I'd like the left side of Best Marzu playing that Ponga goes down that left side. So if you are going to spend up, I'd spend up for Best or Marzu.
Yeah, no, I've had Marzu on my team a few times, but it really just I sacrificed too much in my rest of my team. And at the moment with my team the way it is, I'm looking pretty comfortable to play pretty much every one of my 25 players on the field if I need to. So I'm going to stick to that. So, but I think Best. I think he takes a while to get started. I think Best is a good option to probably get to later. It takes a while to get started. When he gets started, he gets that 60-60 average, which is pretty good. So
yeah, centre wings notoriously score better at the second half of the season when they get cohesion. I think players like Marzu and those that are sort of beast-based, you get your runs out of them, But people like Best, like you said, when they start to get cohesion and get the combinations to better, you'll start seeing Best break the line and break tackles. So I agree with you.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look at the Raiders. Obviously, Rapana, we heard earlier on a couple of weeks ago that Rapana won the race for fullback to replace who's fullback there these days?
Sebastian Chris is, but he's injured. So yeah. Sebastian Chris will move back there. Rapana will move to the wing, and Savage will drop out from I reckon when that all comes together.
Savage or Kotrick. I think Kotrick hasn't been.
Kotrick.
Yeah, I think Kotrick drops out.
Well, that's possible. Kotrick and Tomoko are centre. Do you see Savage playing centre, mate? Because Rapana will go to one wing, right? And so I think, yeah, you could be right. I mean, Rapana could just take Kotrick out of the wing. Actually, that's possible. I thought about that today because I thought Kotrick's not a bad buy, points per dollar, but job security is risky.
Yeah, I think and that's why I've gone with Savage because in my team, just because he's got a bit of flair, he looks good to watch if he does get a decent play going. And if I'm wrong, it's easy to downgrade to Kotrick if I need to get that cash. So that's why I've gone with tip one. So that's why I've gone safe there. And obviously we've spoken about Xavier Savage there. We've got Ethan Strange. All the news was correct. He honestly, it'd be crazy not to pick him after those trial games. Defensively, he looked amazing in the trials. I made that little error with the lifting and the tackle, but got away with $1,000 fine, which all the super coaches were very, very grateful for. But defensively, that's what the Raiders have been needing for so long, having that really good defensive half. And you couldn't get past him.
I like Ethan Strange, what I've seen of him. I like what scares me about Ethan Strange is Ricky. Ricky has a habit of twisting his halves, and he's got Kyle Weeks there on the bench. And it's probable or possible at any time that they could switch around. There's a lot of unanswered questions. You've got Horst to come back into the side, who could move Smithies to the bench. And then you've got Sebastian Chris to come back, who I think you could be right, and Kotrick gets knocked out, but or Savage. So once we get those answers, either one of those would be worth a buy.
Another big name you forgot to mention, he's also coming back, and that's Elliot Whitehead, looking like 3 weeks.
Right.
He's been, so that also looks like he is a clear, easy swap with Zach Hoskins, and Hoskins then goes to the bench as well.
So before we get to Smithies, I'd like to talk about Danny Levi. A lot of people have decided to pay up for Danny Levi over Lussick and Hand. I'm going to say straight up, I don't like it. I've gone through Levi's numbers, mate, and I've seen in 80 minutes games, he's lucky to get 40. He's got his PPM's horrible. And I reckon you'll get more out of Lussick in 40 than you'll get out of Levi in 80. And for 100K more, is it worth it?
Yeah, I think Levi's been around for a long time, so there's plenty of stats on him. So it's not like you haven't been warned. There's so many stats on him. He's been playing around for a while now. I have toyed with the idea of going because I've got Robson and Lustig at the moment. But I've also toyed with the idea of going Levi and Harry Grant, and that's the part that kind of tempts me a little bit because I get to have Harry Grant in my team.
Yeah, well, I've looked at that. I've also looked at if Ponga goes big enough, I'm going to swap Robson to Apai Coruscant, use him to loop Ponga's score, and then and play Apai instead of Robson.
Yeah, I like that. Good idea.
Yeah. So one more player we need to talk about is Morgan Smithies. The raps on this man are great. He came from the English comp. He's a really good player, but job security could be an issue. But he will get a few games to show his wares. And, if he's good enough, as they say, he might earn his keep, and get enough minutes, even 55, 60 minutes. And at his points per dollar, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I've got him as well. I'm getting someone mentioned in a Facebook group I was watching before. I'm getting very good, strong Sean Fenson vibes from him. Tackle bot that can just run hard, and I think his base will be solid. And I think his base per minute will be solid. So I'm happy to take that punt on him.
Yeah, agreed.
So obviously the bench makeup might be a little bit different when they have their full team back. So we're looking at Starling should be there, no problems, I think. But then you got regular starters like Omre Gula, who was a regular starter last year. It looks like he might drop out with all these other players that are potentially coming back. If they are going to bring back Elliot Whitehead and then they're bringing back Horse, you got to imagine that there's Moriata and Pasami Solo drop out. Yeah, that's
right. That's exactly what will happen, mate. And the other two could drop to the bench, which even there's a chance that Hoskins drops out. I think Starling comes on for Levi. He'll be an impact player. He'll probably do 15 minutes off the back of each end. Who knows? Emre Gula comes on for Pup. They're both big minute forwards, Tarpany and Papali. So it'll be interesting to watch this forward rotation. One of the things I'll be doing this year that I used to do years ago when I was successful is I'll be writing the rotations down. I'll be literally watching the benches of each team, and I'll be doing that for 4 or 5 weeks in a row on each of them to see what sort of minutes my forwards are getting.
Yeah, I think that's a very big one. I think you're going to realize what the same thing everyone else realizes is that Ricky is going to be rotating. It's going to be like mad scientist with forward rotations going to be different every week, I think. But when you do that, you will find the consistencies. There will be some consistencies in those things. And like the last few years, we've always bagged Ricky out for changing his forward rotation, but Tarpany's minutes have always been very similar. So I think there are some consistencies there, and that's what we need to rely on when it comes to forwards.
For those who want to pay up for a front rower, and you can't get to Haas, I think Tarpany at his price point's not a bad option. Very secure. I prefer Cotter and Ming, but I think that for price wise, but I think that if you want to pay up, Tarpany will give you a solid 60 to 70 each week.
100%. Tarpany has always been a pretty good staple in most teams, and he's one of the guys that normally you want to get him and Haas as the 2 front forwards. So normally, obviously, with Tino as well.
Great. It's just his minutes, and it depends how Ricky uses him, and like that's my problem with the Canberra Raiders and owning them is that Ricky Stewart is insane.
Indeed. All right, let's have a look at the next game. So we've got the Warriors taking on the Sharks on Friday night there. So go to the Warriors. The big the name here that sticks out like a sore thumb is Taini Tuapiki, taking over from Chan Nickel Klostag for how many weeks? Is that 4 weeks away?
Yeah, that's right. They reckon Sankei's got 2 injuries, right? So it could be a while away. So hopefully this kid impresses. We get at least a couple of pay rises out of him, at least one good one, and frame on the bench as an NPR or upgrade to someone or downgrade, whichever the court could be. I look at this Tuapiki, however you say his name. He's actually a gun little player and one you could play in your side. on the right matchups.
Especially when he's playing in that fullback position. When you get that
Yeah.
winger that comes in that's playing one game, you're like, eh. In the fullback position, you feel safer with having that base there as well.
Yeah, fullback and second rowers that can start in your centre wing position, especially early in the season, are very handy because you're just going for your base points, man. Like if you can get 50 in each spot early in the season, you're doing well. With cheapies, I mean.
That's one thing I'm pretty much. It's an idea that I was playing around. I haven't got him in my team, and that's because I wasn't actually 100% sure of when Chance was back. So what I'm thinking, I can actually go and upgrade if I can get Harry Grant and upgrade Levi. If I downgrade one of my other centre wingers to him, that'll help me get a decent second hooker.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well, the next person to talk about is RTS. I have RTS in my side.
So do I, mate. Looking for that's a. I was like nervous initially about him playing in the centres. He's just so experienced. He just looks good everywhere. He looks so good in those trials matches.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've always known RTS likes to run the ball. He's a tackle buster. He jigs, he jags. He's a competitor. And when you've got someone that's as competitive as someone as RTS, you always know he's going to be in the fight.
Yeah, 100%. I think RTS as well, not the worst ball playing playmaker as well. So that more for draft and anything else. But Marcelo Montoya, my outside, he might get a few sneaky points there in your draft team. So that's actually I picked up Montoya in one of my drafts as a sneaky little pick there for some matchups there.
So
there's one player I want to talk about before we get to the forwards, and this is a sneaky little pod that I've been contemplating getting. And you can talk me out of this all you want, but I like him a lot, and that's Luke Metcalf in your 5'8".
Yeah, I like him too, mate.
As a backup, there's no one talking about him. I'm like, I really like the idea because you remember he had that run last year, how good he looked, and I was like,
so I was about to talk about him.
Oh, there you go. Great mind, mate. Great mind.
So I too like Luke Metcalf. I was saying to those people who are looking at not going Brown or not going Cleary, I think that either one, Luke Metcalf or Sean Johnson, could be really interesting purchases. I think the Warriors are a top 4 side. They score points well and dominate well. And Luke Metcalf is a handy little player. And I had Luke Metcalf at the start of last season and then took him out when he didn't get named. He got injured or something, remember, really early in the season.
Yeah.
Because I was really looking forward to watching him play. Was he with the Sharks before?
Yeah, he was ex-Shark player, yeah.
Yeah. He's a great player, mate, and I don't hate that purchase at all.
Yeah, I think I just don't think I could do it as the main 5'8". So I've got Dylan Brown as my main 5'8". Having him as my backup, it made it look better. It just made him look way better. So I actually.
What's his price?
He's around the 480 mark around there. So he's at high mids around there. Decent price to have someone that has a decent ceiling on him. So.
And he's still better than someone like a Kyle Flanagan or even an Ethan Strange. I'd be putting Ethan Strange in centre wing. And if you could get a Luke Metcalf as your second half, if you've got the coin to do it, you're doing well. And it's a great little backup to when Brown does have a bye. So, or whoever your starting 5'8" is.
So I touched on before that I could play my whole 25 comfortably. I might get the best scores, but if I have a player on a bye, I don't need to waste trades. I can kind of use my depth and stuff. So, and that's why one of those players was Metcalf, and I feel like I could play him over Dylan Brown if he's on a bye, for example.
So if you're interested in a front rower, I really like Aiden Fanua-Blake, obviously, but you have to pay up for him. But Mitch Barnett, if you look at his numbers at the end of last season, he's a workhorse. He's another competitor. He's a risk of getting, in trouble a lot. And Wade Egan, though, I was looking over some stuff today, and I read a stat about him today. He's had more HIAs than any other player in the game.
Yeah, he had 7 last year. He passed.
Yeah.
He failed 3 and passed 4, which is the highest. Yeah. So that's the highest ever concussion rate in a full season. That's right. Crazy.
And even Jackson Ford, Kurt Capewell, and Tohu Harris have all got points in them. I like Kurt Capewell outside of Johnson. I like Ford outside of Metcalf. I think, if you're prepared to pay up, any of those players are worth looking at.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. All the team lists I saw at the start of the year that were like the projected team list had Ford on the bench. So is Niokora, where is he sitting at? Is he not in the team? Is he injured?
I think he's injured, mate.
That's my concern about some of those. I remember I'm trying to think of who was missing, and Niokora must be injured. So
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that. For some reason, I haven't seen Neokora's name at all, and he's just forgotten in my mind. I actually liked Neokora when he was at Parramatta, and he was a good. I thought that the Warriors' purchases last year were really good selection. Neokora, Barnett, Metcalf, some of the others they brought in now, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. They're really building that's a really stable side with a really good, Metcalf, Sean Johnson, and RTS, like Wade Egan. It's a pretty formidable team.
Yeah, and like you said, all the other players they've been bringing in are really solid, safe players. And another one they brought in as well, which we haven't touched on, is Kurt Capewell. We touched on a little bit, but another safe player that'll just do his job. They are looking like a solid team. You get those teams that are just like individual, great individual players on there, but as a team, not really forming very well. But you look at this team here; they're a solid team that can really upset big names.
And CNK complements them really well at the back when he's there. WZ with his tough running styles, even Montoya. They're a good all-round football team, man, and they're top 4 for mine. And, it'd be interesting to see how the year plays out. So if you're looking for some upside, definitely look at the Warriors.
Yeah, definitely like it. All right, speaking of the next team we'll go to, the Sharks. A few people are really looking at Trindle as another backup option there. What are your thoughts there, Glenn?
Yeah, I don't hate Trindle. I mean, I'm scared with Trindle in the side for Hines, to be honest with you. I actually have said it. Most people don't agree with me that Trindle will steal points from Hines. There's not a lot of players in this side that I would be interested outside of Hines and Trindle. The only other ones, I mean, if you're paying up for anyone in the back line, but a couple of traps in here that people are looking at possibly is Kafusi and Hunt. You've got Amian Hueli. You've got players that are due back into this side, and I don't think they'll play the minutes. But I'll be watching with interest Kafusi and Hunt based on their price points.
And like we always say, it's always really good to look at the bench because look at there's some big minute forwards on that bench, man. You've got Rudolph, Jack Williams, and Finucane. That's a big minute forwards right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Hazelton's a very good 20-minute player, but the rest of them can play long minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Especially Rudolph and Finucane. They'll come on and play a good portion of their footy. So
yeah, definitely. And even Jack Williams, he's a young fella. He's got a bit of a motor on him too. So
yeah, that's right. I rate Jack Williams actually.
Yeah. One other player that I don't mind, but I'm not really building up in that area, in that side, is there's 2 of them, obviously, you see near the edges, and Teague Wilton and Nikora are both really good, but I think there's too much value in the second row. Teague Wilton was really good.
Teague Wilton specifically. I mean, Nikora's always great for running lines, but geez, Teague Wilton does too on that left edge. He really does seem to find the line. I agree with you, mate. Both of them are good second row options, and it's only because this year we've got so many mid-price second rowers that no one's looked at the Hopwoods, the Neokoras, the Teague Wiltons, the Olakawatus, the Kalomatungis. They've all sort of taken a backward step because we've tried to pay up to get our spines looking flush,
I did. I know it's a last week game, but I did really like the look of Olakawatu on the weekend, mate. He looked at the goods. Looked real good. So, definitely my guy. Probably the first target I'll be going when my price rises come up. Alrighty, next game we got the Storm v Panthers Friday night. This is gonna be a cracker of a game. I'm looking forward to watching.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this guy here goes, and that's Ryan Pappenhausen, number 1. I hope he has a full game on him because he was showing glimpses of pretty good stuff on the in the trials. What are your thoughts there?
From a rugby league perspective, Pappenhausen's one of my favourite players, and me more than anyone would love to see him do well. As a non-owner, I hope that doesn't translate into Supercoach points because a lot of people have taken the risk on him. The fact he's not goal kicking, the fact that he's coming back from so many injuries, he looks underweight to me even more than what he normally is. I would be a worried owner of Pappenhausen, but mate, the guy can score points and find a line.
It's funny, mate. You get some of these players that you'd be worried to be an owner, and I'm worried to be a non-owner at the same time as well because we all know what he can do. He's scary as hell. So, but yeah, I just think there's way too many risks involved. But that's why I'm happy. I know that he's the price that he is. I know that I can always downgrade if he starts to just start, going nuts. So that's why I left that one aside, and I want to watch him play, and hopefully for his sake, because he's a top bloke as well. Hopefully he has a good run this year.
It's interesting that Wishart's been named on the bench for Harry Grant. I mean, it's unlikely he comes on at hooker, but I'm just wondering. I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup. It's an interesting game because Storm have not lost the first game in 22 years, but they're versing the minor premiers, the premiers of 3 years running. So this first round clash will be a literal clash of the Titans. I'm really keen to watch this game of football. But the second rowers in this side, mate, Joe Chan, because he's a bottom dollar, job security not so good. But Elise Katoa, man, if you want to pay up for a player, that's your man. I'm telling you, Munster, Hughes, Katoa, there's so much to like in this side from a super coach perspective.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the field positions in my head on what side they're on, but I'm thinking Katoa's obviously on the right-hand side. He'll be running at Martin, I believe. I'm pretty sure from memory. So Martin, if he was running at someone like Garner, I'd probably be all over him for this game himself, but he's still a safe bet no matter what happens. So speaking of Joe Chan, how do you think this rotation changes when Asafa Solomon gets back? Do you think that Liero goes that edge?
Yeah, I do. I think Liero goes to second row and Nass will come into lock. That's pretty much, or Kamakamika goes down to lock and Nass goes to front row. Because that Kamakamika has been...
You also got Josh King as well, who's he played lock all last year as well.
Well, that's right. That's
he's playing front row. Well. He's playing front row, so you could probably put Nash on the bench. Which they have done in the past quite often. Put Nash on the bench and he comes on and just tears everyone a new one because he's a big boy. That's what I think is going to happen. But I think that Liero goes to the edge. I think King goes to lock, and I think Nelson jumps on. Potentially,
I think Chan, Lorio, and even Blaw are all fighting for the same left edge. They're not taking Elise Qatar out of that side. So, I mean, Chan, buy at your own risk. I mean, I own him only because it was I had one player that wasn't playing, and I thought, well, I may as well at least turn him to someone that is playing. And, I mean, from all the raps on him, he's a really good second rower. I'm really keen to see how he plays and see what sort of minutes he gets, mate.
And the other one here as well is Christian Welsh on the bench. Not sure what the deal is there. I think normally he'd be playing in the front row starting up. So Kamakamika would normally come onto the bench. I can see a late change here. Thoughts? Yeah,
possibly. I think Chris Welsh possibly starts. I'm not sure. Yeah, and Kamakamika comes off. That's possible. Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch how. I mean, there could even be Sean Blaw moves up for Chan. I mean, there's even his 18th man. You know, watch out for a late change for Blaw. If you're interested in Blaw, keep your money aside to upgrade or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also got another other potential cheapie that we were all looking at initially as well to start. Kane Bradley sitting there at 19th man as well. So I just don't see him coming into the team unless there's an injury.
I don't, but like I said, there's so many fighting. Kane Bradley, Sean Blaw, Trent Lorio, Joe Chan, all fighting for that ever second row position. I tell you what was an interesting interview this morning was I listened to Bellamy do an interview on Farlago, and he said that, and Chan, he spoke about Chan and Farlago specifically, and he said that Chan, someone who's been training for ages to put into the 17. So he gave me belief that he will be in the side in the 17, but he also spoke about Farlago, saying that he's a really talented player and he's there like to back up for Paps, but they also want to try and somewhere get him in the 17. So, mate, that's an exciting young player that they need to get into their football side. Do you agree?
Oh, mate, you've seen it work in the past. When they had the full, I can't remember, I think it was, they had Pappenhausen coming in and he was playing from the bench. Nico Hines was playing from the bench or whatever. So, like that, it's just so exciting to watch that stuff happen. Like they just go berserk in that last 15 minutes, and for Walago, he's that guy that can easily do that. He's an excitement machine. So
he's elusive, isn't he?
Yeah, and there are some decent big minute forwards where they can actually have that back on the bench as well. So Welsh can play probably 60 quite comfortably. Then you got King who can play 80 very comfortably.
That's right.
He has done the past. Yeah, that's it. Liero will sit on the edge of the whole. Their second rows will do the whole 80 minutes, and then the only one here that might be a bit shorter in minutes, I would say, is Kamakamika, but that's because he's that big boggy. But he can still have a crack as well. So
I only just noticed that we're up to Penrith now. The hooker that's been named Luke Summerton. I actually didn't even notice that. I just imagined it was Taruva. What's his name? Sonny.
Sonny Luke, yeah.
Sonny Luke,
If you watched the last year a little bit there was a bit of, I think Kenny was out for a little bit, and then they did a bit of rotation with Sonny Luke and Summerton. Summerton looks more impressive on the field than Sonny Luke.
What's his price
very,
point?
very impressive. He's very close to bottom dollar. He's probably the cheapest hooker that's starting. But we all know Kenny is back in 1 week. So
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's the problem there. We know Kenny's back in 1 week. It's not
That's
one of those
right.
things
He's
where
a
like, yeah. But you
Geez,
see that Somerton will more than likely get that spot on the bench. But then you can see very, very almost the exact same thing as what happened to Sonny Luke last year, where you'd have Kenny on the field and Sonny Luke getting no points, no price rises. So I would tell everyone stay away.
I only have 2 Panthers at the moment. I have Taylor May and I have Nathan Cleary. But I did have Taruva at 500k. I didn't hate it. But I looked at the draw and I just thought other draws were more conducive and at price points, players that I liked better. But Targo, Taruva, Toho and May. I mean, you can't go wrong with any one of those 4. So if you've paid up for them, I wish you luck, guys. I think any one of them can score well on their day.
Yeah, on their day, with Taylor May, I'll be looking very closely to see how he goes in the centre position. He has been a bit iffy in the trial matches, but that's just a time thing. He's got the skill to be a good centre. I think it just needs to be some timing, spend some time at centre there, and he will develop that skill quite well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking here, Cleary, do we Hines, do we both? What are your thoughts here, mate?
Well, I have them both. So I had Moses and Hines, but I just looked through the numbers of Moses and I looked through the numbers of Cleary, and I just can't go past Cleary. I mean, from my perspective, he's the best player in the game. He's the best, and he gets Supercoach points in every area of the game you can get them. Defending, attacking, try assists, tries, goals, 40-20s. He's got it all. And from that perspective, he has a higher ceiling. So I actually chose him instead of Grant. I had Grant Moses and I ended up going Robson Cleary. I just couldn't go without Cleary. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I was in the same boat there. I actually had a side picked where I had Grant, Hines, Brown, and Cleary in my team, but there was some iffy players on my team, which they those guys could make money and it could have paid off for me, but I just did not like the look of them. So but yeah, I want to have Cleary in my team too. At the moment, I've got Moses, but that also frees me up to have enough cash to get Metcalf in my other 5 position too. So
yeah, nice.
I think all-round team, I think, is looking pretty good. On the bench here, we got Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry, Matt Eisenhuth, and Tyrone Peachy. So you think Peachy probably jumps in for Somerton for a little bit. But you never know. Somerton's only a young fellow who can probably, depending on how that motor goes, he might be able to play pretty decent minutes. He's a bit of a firecracker too. He's a quick out of dummy half. Very similar to Sonny Luke, I think, but probably a bit more safer.
Yeah, he defends better.
Yeah. And the big noticeable omission from this team is Sorensen not playing. He's injured currently, looking a bit of a niggle there. So
well, he'll come back for Garner, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Garner's definitely that guy that's just filling in at the moment. So I think Sorensen definitely earned that spot so well last year because he didn't have that wasn't his spot secured. He had to earn that, and he did a bloody great job earning that spot.
Yeah, so. Sorensen was good. I really like what I saw from Sorensen on that left edge last year and Martin on the right. I just thought they two very good defenders, and Sorensen runs beautiful lines.
Yeah, I will say to keep an eye on this centre bench as well. We do have a Dane Laurie, Sonny Luke, Brad Schneider, Preston Ricky, and Maverick Guy are all waiting in the wings there for any changes. But I think they're going to be pretty much the only thing I can see potentially is Sonny Luke going in for Somerton. I can see that one happening potentially. Alrighty, Saturday we have the Eagles taking on the Bulldogs. Sneaky guy that I picked up in a fantasy comp, not Supercoach, but fantasy. Gutho. I think Gutho is definitely an option for anyone, even in Supercoach. Thoughts here?
Well, the draw for the Eels is fantastic, and it was last year too. And anybody that would have started Moses, Gutherson, and Brown last year would have been laughing. The 3 of them kicked off with a beautiful campaign at the start of the season. But Tyrone and I both toyed with the idea and both chickened out at the last minute. But Gutherson, Dylan Brown, Mitchell, Moses are all purchases, for different reasons. I just think at fullback with Gutherson, you got Latrell and Ponga both goal kicking, you got Turbo, you got Teddy, you got Walsh, you got a whole lot of people out there, Pappenhausen, that can hurt you, which I feel bigger than Gutherson. But Gutherson will stick. He's very solid for getting around 80 and 90s. He's just not that player that will get you 150, 160. And
that's true.
whereas I feel them others have that in their arsenal.
Yeah, that's it. I think if you want consistency, I think Gutho is probably one of the most consistent out of all of them, which is really good. But yeah, I think I just there's just too many other options. I'm too scared of not owning. If I see Gutho in my head to head, I'm not that scared. But you see someone
Yeah,
like Pappenhausen or a Teddy or a Turbo, or you get
yeah,
scared. So
yeah.
obviously Dylan Brown, he's very popular for good reasons. I think I've got him in my team because I don't want to mess around in that position, Glenn.
Yeah, and he's the best base half in the game. You know, even better bases than Munster. And I mean, he's a front arm defender. Him and Lane defend that side really well. And Dylan Brown's in my side. With that draw, I cannot not own him. I always had the Brown Lane combo, although I must confess I've got rid of Lane, and we'll talk about that and my reasons behind it.
Well, I know because I'm trying to look at the centre wings here. We've got Russell, but how long is Sevo out for? Do we know?
No, I don't know.
I mean, I thought it was a pretty long time.
5 weeks,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, I thought it was a long time. So 5 weeks, but I think he's just priced out of that position. I think Russell, but we know he can score tries. Russell is a very good try scorer.
Well, remember that we had him 2 seasons ago, and he got 3 tries in the first game, and then he got his ribs broken after that, and we didn't see him for the rest of the year. So he definitely can find the try line, and they do play a dominant side down that left edge with Brown, Lane, and Harper and Russell.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Penniston is right. Emerson's right. Yeah.
All right, let's have a look in the forwards. We have RCG. The big talk here, the hookers. Lussick and
absolutely. I mean,
names.
all of us were disappointed. We were told we were going to get an 80-minute hooker at Parramatta, and it was going to be between Lussick and Hands. I've held on to Lussick. I just feel like one of them will get that spot, and I'm prepared to swap to that one when we know who that is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think even though Brad Arthur said he wants an 80-minute hooker, I didn't say when. He just said he wanted an 80-minute hooker, and he's always wanted that. He's always had when they had Reid Marnie in the team, they were pushing the 80-minute hooker all the time, and that's what they're always trying to do. And it just could be it's warm, hasn't cooled down yet. They want to try to keep their players fresh, get them game fit, and then whoever wins it. And I think he's very big on doing those little inside competitions. So
we'll get to the next player, which is Sean Lane. Now, I've had Sean Lane in my side from the minute Supercoach opened, and I only swapped him last week when he didn't play in the second row. I look at that side, and I think that, Hopgood probably moves to front row. Madison comes on at lock. It suggests to me that he could play 80 minutes in that one. But Tuilagi on the bench suggests to me, that he won't play 80 minutes is what I was trying to say. I think Bryce Kite ought to play 80. I think Lane will come off and that Tuilagi will come on. There could even be a late change where Lane goes to the bench and Tuilagi starts. So for that, but I do believe Lane will become an 80-minute player. So if you own him, I wouldn't panic early. And I just believe he needs to get some time in his legs to get that 80-minute spot.
Yeah, I'm looking at like last year, the year before when Lane was actually great. Everyone wanted him. He was getting that long arm out offload. So many tries, just wasn't funny. Last year, he got injured, he came back, and then started playing those 80-minute games, and wasn't him his normal self. That's why he's priced where he is. That's why he's priced where he is. And I just don't, and nothing really in that team has changed on the field. Like, he's still going to have Brown inside him. He's still going to have his wingers outside. There's no changes. So I just couldn't see that price changing too much. And that was even when I thought he was playing 80. I think his price would have gone up playing 80, but I don't think it would have gone up as much as what people were hoping for. I think he was going to be averaging around 55, maybe 60. But that was just my opinion, and I'll stick to that. But I think now that with Tuilagi on there,
if he averaged 55 and 60 at his price point, that would actually be good. But what we want from him, what I want from him is I want to see him run 3 or 4 games together. Where he's playing decent minutes, because I think the problem with him is fitness. And you're right, he got those injuries, he came back, he didn't quite reach his straps, and the year ended. I think that with a full pre-season of training, which he seems to have gotten, it'd be interesting to see how he is after about round 5 onwards.
Yeah, definitely got my eye on him because they've got a sweet draw
Yeah.
opening there. So if they get a few games at the start that might be a bit. See how he goes, and if he starts playing the 80 minutes, then I can happily. I've got plenty of mid-range second rollers, and I guarantee you all of them ain't going to be good. There'll be a few that fail that I'll be trading to. So happy to
Yeah,
trade.
well, if you want to pay up, I think Bryce Cartwright will do his job on the right, and he's got the hands. We all know what Bryce Cartwright can do. And Hopgood, he's a super coach god. We all know that. There won't be any one of us that won't be walking towards Hopgood in our team, But we all know from super coach experience in the past that we have is that you've got to earn the right to get some of these players, and he's one of the ones that we need to earn the right to get.
Definitely, and he just does the hard. He's one of those guys that his base. You can see his points ticking up with just base alone. It's just so good to watch.
Yeah, he has 70 or 80 games every time, and then he gets any kind of attack stat. He's 100 plus. He's a forward that can. Him and Madison have both got high upside. I like them both.
Yeah. All righty, let's talk Bulldogs. The back line is almost unrecognisable from last year. So we've got Blake Taff and fullback. Definitely out of the question in my books, but there's a couple here to talk about where we've got Drew Hutchison in 5'8" there, as in the halfback position. Are you taking the plunge on Hutchison?
No, I'm not, and I don't think he's got good job security. I think Sexton's sitting in the wings, and I think that I actually don't like Hutchison playing with Burton. I think they're two similar kind of players. I think they're both 5'8", if I'm being completely honest. And they need someone in that control the game of football. And I either put Hutchison at 5'8" and Burton at 7. That would have made more sense to me. But personally, I think Sexton coming in at 7, controlling the game and allowing Big Burton to do his running game is where they'll get to. That's just the Bulldogs will lose a few games in a row and they'll start making changes. So I'd be very nervous as a Drew Hutchison owner if you've gone that route.
Yeah, honestly, even in the trials when they were playing half and half, when you look at Sexy came on and Hutchison looked good in the first half. Don't get me wrong, he was just straightening him up. He was doing what he needed to do. Great work. And then Sexton came on and got so deep in that line and drew those players in, and he was looking scary. I don't know why he didn't get this. I think Serrato's going for that safety at the moment rather than that. But I just don't see. I think I reckon Hutchison. I don't even think he's a 5'8". I think Hutchison is a 14. I think he's a great 14. But unfortunately for them, they've got Kurt Mann, who's also a great 14 as well. So I think that should be.
Yeah, and Curran is as well.
Yeah, exactly right. But Curran can also be a solid lock as well. But then you look at the other guy who's playing lock is also another great 14 as well.
That's
still
right.
A handful of 14s, mate. That's it.
So the next player I want to talk about is it's Max King and also Farmer Suli. So I'll talk about King first. Ming's a hard worker, man. He really is. He gets in there and gets the job done. And I think that he's a safe front rower at his price point if people are looking for someone cheaper. Max King and Cotter were my front rowers right up until today. I've actually kept Cotter and I've actually picked up someone we'll talk about when we get further down to the Titans. But Poasar Farmer Suli, his base was actually quite good in the time that he was on the field. Made 36 tackles, had a stack of runs. So at his price point, he could be someone if you're looking for a bench player instead of if you've got the other one they're talking about is Liam Henry, right, from Penrith, which we didn't mention. Liam Henry could play front row if you're looking for a cheapie. But I just think that Poso Farmasuli, who's starting, could be an interesting one as well if you've got Hughes and him on your bench.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I just read an article on Monday that they just locked in Poster for top 30. They just promoted him very recently. So they obviously got some good eyes on him. They love him. I'm going to say something probably similar to what you did. So I had Sam Hughes. I have Sam Hughes in my team, which is almost an obvious thing. Everyone should have him. And then I got Poster in my team as well. And I had Max King. And I'm like, I've got too many Bulldogs players in my front row. So I had to make a change as well.
Right. Well, I've got Palacia, but we'll get to him. I got Palacia and Cotter, and then I got Hughes, and then I've got Farmasuli as my other front rower. I just think price points, I like those two bottom dollars. I think Hughes will get some bigger minutes. There's even a chance, we'll talk about though, with the Dogs, there's even a chance that Sam Hughes comes on and starts over Farmasuli.
Mm,
And
yeah, I
Farmasuli
can see
drops
that.
back to the bench.
Yeah, I can see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
It's the last kind of conversation I want to have with this team, really. Or we already spoke about Sam Hughes a little bit, but I want to talk about the combination between Curran and Salmon, how they're going
Yeah.
to work with their minutes. That's going to be a bit of a tricky one to keep an eye on too.
It is, and I was hoping we'd get more clarification when we watched the trials. But what I did see from Salmon was he played healthy minutes. He defended well in the middle. He ran the ball hard, and he was a link between both sides of the field. So he was getting a lot of attacking stats. So I really like the upside of both Salmon and Curran. But at price point and Salmon being able to be available at centre wing, he's in my team.
Yeah, I've got Salmon in my team just at that price.
Yeah, that's right.
And if he's playing in the middle, even if he plays 40 minutes, he gets a lot of base, and that's an
Yeah.
instant price rise. So to me, that's
And one attack stat, mate, and the money's away.
Yeah, and we all know what Salmon can do. What Salmon did do with the Panthers, he come on for very short minutes and he had that attacking flair in him. So
yeah, he's got that late step.
And one of the standing out omissions there, Bronson Xerri, as we all expected, outside the 17, because they were talking about the fitness of Carraz, and he got named. And if Carraz, there could be a late change there depending on Carraz's fitness if he runs those fitness tests.
I'm interested to see how Carraz goes in the centres. I didn't like him as much in the centres. I prefer him coming back, bringing the ball back and taking those run meters. But he's an active player. Another one that, like Gutherson, he's a competitor. He's always in there, trying to get the ball. He'll take it up as many times as I'll let him. Like Preston.
I think that he got centre because Willison did so well in the trials and he earned that spot on the wing. That's my theory.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, alrighty, let's have a look. Titans versus the Dragons. So we've got Keeney at fullback at the moment. Obviously, we're waiting on Campbell to make it back around 5 from what we hear. What are your thoughts here?
Well, he's only available at fullback, and I mean that alone is the reason not to do it. I mean, anyone who's played Supercoach a long time like we have, there was 2 years in a row. I think one of them's name was Feeney, where we had a gun fullback and we had a dud fullback. We just know that they're the best ceiling positions. So I would advise anybody, if you don't have 2 gun fullbacks, to fix it now, because you're going to fall behind if you don't.
Yeah. I don't really.
It's a no, big no.
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't even looked at him because I haven't changed my fullbacks once. So I haven't even seen him in my searching because I haven't even changed my fullbacks at all. So I don't think there's really anyone else in the backs to talk about, unless you can prove me wrong. I think the backs, that's it. Let's look at the forwards now. So a player that I had in my team for a little bit as a replacement for Matt King was Mo Fodawaker. Yeah, I really like him. But you mentioned earlier you got Palisade there as well. So
Palisade is available. He's playing lock. He's available in the front row. His points PPM is actually pretty good. I think at that price point of 330, that money that I took away, 200K from Cotter, allowed me to pretty up some other places, And as we got our team list, we all have those ugly spots that need fixing, and I was able to do that using that money. So I'm confident with him as long as he starts at lock and doesn't get swapped out late. And we all know that could happen.
Especially with Isaac Liu on the bench there. He's started 13 quite a bit for the Titans, so it's definitely a bit of a fright,
Yeah, that's right.
Another big name in here that a lot of super coaches have had right now for a while, me included, that's Bo Firma. How do we think he's going to go? I think he's going to do all right without Fafita in the team.
I do. And I mean, Firma, we've all owned Firma in the past. He'll do his job. He's got the ability to get across the line. He's got job security now. I mean, Cleese Haas has shown something last year, but I don't see him playing big minutes. Firma will play the 80. I believe he will anyway. I mean, we don't know. And I think that Stimson at 18 man, though, is a worry for Haas. But I think Firma's probably the most secure of all the mid-priced second rowers we have. I thought Piakura and Firma were my 2 safe ones, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I've had Firma pretty much. I haven't even changed Firma since I started.
Yeah, I had his yours. Fafita went down.
Yeah, I was looking at Cleese, and then I was like, well, after team list, looked at Cleese, and I'm like, he's priced out. He's 356.
I had him last year.
Yeah.
and he done the job for me. He's actually gets a lot more points than you think.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I remember seeing his name last year. I didn't have him in my team, but I remember seeing his name last year, and I was like, I think he's played a few games. He might not be bottom dollar, and I had a look, and yeah, clearly he was around. He's 356,000, so it's a bit too much for me to really throw on that. I think
If
at that
Satilli
price,
doesn't come back, and he does have some sort of job security that I can see he has, I'll probably go to him. It's just that they've got an early buy, so I just don't want to get myself wrapped up in too many Titans and too many,
And you got to think as well, if he's out until round 5 for feeder, that is, that's only 4 games. You get 2 price rises. It's definitely is it worth it? Yeah.
No, try.
Alrighty, so that's pretty much not really anyone else worth you talking about on this team that I can think of. Oh, sorry, my apologies. I forgot the big boy, Tino Fasumala. He's the most expensive front rower for a reason.
And I reckon he's got a higher ceiling than Haas.
Oh, easy higher ceiling than Haas.
Yeah.
Haas has got a solid base and a solid score. He'll get you 70 minimum every single week.
Yeah.
You might get 60 minimum every week from Tino, but you might get a potential for 120. So
that's right.
This is a sneaky little pod. I don't like to pod up in front row because I don't think the ceiling is there. But if I was going to pod up in front row, it would be for Tino because he has that ceiling.
And Tino has that late step, which gets him tackle busts, he offloads. He's got a lot more in his arsenal than Haas has got. I think when Haas adds an offload to his game, he'll be a super coach gun. I mean, he's not far from it now. But there was a strategy that I started with at the beginning of the season, Dan, where I was going to run both Tino and Haas, and but money didn't permit. My best seasons have been where I've stacked the pack, and I really wanted to go with that strategy this year.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Dragons. So we've got Lomax on the wing. I think there's more chance for some extra base there, but I think it's a bit of there's other options out there in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they've nullified his flick pass, I guess. I'll be watching with interest. I mean, he's a goal kicking centre wing and a player that likes to get involved, but I can't go there at this point in time. But I wouldn't begrudge anyone doing it as a pod. If you're looking for a pod, I don't hate Lomax at all. I was sort of hoping he'd get named at fullback. There was some rumours that might happen. Had that happened, I probably would have got him.
Well, talking about pods, I am actually I know the Dragons are the Dragons, and everyone's a bit upset. I saw how happy they were playing in the trials. I'm not expecting big things from them, but I think they're going to play in a lot more happier. Yeah. One of the pods I think is a very big pod, very risky, but can score some big points is Ravalawa.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is scoring tries for fun in the trials, having so much fun. I think he's dangerous, and he's going to be I was tempted to actually start with him over RTS as a sneaky pod. But
I really like the way the Dragons are playing football this year, Dan. They're a very tough, rugged side. They were playing really good, hard defence, and so it'd be interesting to watch as the season unfolds. I wouldn't be touching Ravalawa early at the season, but I definitely think when the right draw comes up, Ravalawa is definitely one of those pods you could bring at the right time, get the right kind of run from him, and then pass on again to one of the bigger guns down the track.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Ravalawa, he could do some crazy things, but I'm not going to spend that money there. So
no.
We'll talk about Kyle Flanagan, cheapy option here in a lot of teams. He's been in my team in and out so often just because of the price he is. And then I look at it, why is he in my team? It's because of the price. That's literally it. I don't see that much happening there. I think
you make money, mate. I think that his defence alone, he's actually got a pretty good base for a half in his defence. I know people won't agree with me with this, but I still see him as a mini Cleary. I think that he's got a lot of potential to be a lot better than people think. It'd be interesting to watch Flanagan. At his price point, I think that if you've got him as your second 5'8" and you're not planning on playing him, the actual matchup that he has when Brown has a bye is versus the Tigers. So that's not such a horrible matchup for that particular one game. All he needs is a couple of games where he gets a couple of try assists and he'll squeeze up in money, and you just want to get him up to around 450, 500, and you can move him to the next tier.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do agree. He's going to make money, no doubt in my mind. But I just feel like I can get him if I need to.
Yeah, that's right. He's a trade down.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And the way my team is, I feel like I can afford these trades because I've got enough people that I don't need to. I'll have to chase the cashies later on, but I can afford these trades because I don't need to worry about getting rid of players for buys because I've got a pretty solid team. So,
and ideally, we know that trading down is easier than trading up, and trading down allows us money to trade up elsewhere. So,
what are your thoughts on Sua or Sully as a pod in the Facebook chat?
Well, so before you get to there, I was going to talk about Jacob Little. I actually be interested to see what kind of minutes Little plays for the Dragons. So he's one that I've seen a couple of people toying with the idea on. I actually like Jaden Sewer. I think he is an excellent pod. I love the way he runs the ball, and I have actually and Tyrone both believe that he'll be one of the premium second rowers at some point through the year. And I don't hate Jack DeBellin either if you're looking for a front row option around 500.
Yeah, I had him in my team a little bit when I was trying to replace Max King, and then I don't know. I had enough. There you go.
I was just going to say the one that's interesting is Eisenhower, who can be bought at 300k and can be played at centre wing. If I knew he had job security in that second row position, I'd be bringing him in as well.
Now, how many weeks suspension did Leilua get?
I don't know. It comes back round 4, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I thought it was not very many weeks for the drink driving, non-declaring.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure. But he will come in and replace Tom Eisenhower. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
why I don't own him. But I looked at it today and I thought...
There you go.
I was just saying, I looked at him today with Tyrone and we were talking over players and we both realised that his price point available at centre wing at second row is, it was pretty until we looked deeper and realised, that it's short-lived.
Yeah, no, I literally had him in my team, and I was like, I can't see who comes in. I just can't see who. And then I was like, oh, duh! Like I just signed a guy on $1 billion just to bring him down. So they're not signing this guy on that much money just to not play him. So
where do you see William Fafita coming in?
Honestly, I'm looking at the Blake Laurie, Francis Molo, not the biggest minute forwards. I can see him playing about 30 minutes. William maybe, which is still decent for his price.
Because I'm tempted to get William Fafita instead of Liam Henry or Farmasuli. I was going to get Fafita. I had him in my side all year, and then I took him out. But I mean, again, like you said, he's one we could trade down to if the minutes are right.
Yeah, that's right. I think I'm happy to watch that one because I think I reckon 30 minutes would be his max. I can see him probably going maybe 25. But that's just, I don't know much about the Dragons, not enough to really warrant anything anyway. So,
well, none of us do. The start of the season's about learning the rotations, and we'll know after about round 3, a lot of us will have changed players around based on what we see. There will be players that will come out and play big minutes that we don't expect, and there will be players that we think are going to get big minutes that will play small minutes, and that's the trick of learning Supercoach at the start. And it's the one that gets those right at the beginning that manages to get the minutes right, in those positions are the ones that'll one up us early on.
Yeah, well, in the chat, we've also got someone saying Fafita will drop out when Lucy comes back. Is that true, do you think, or do you think that maybe Eisenhower drops out?
Yeah, I think Eisenhower drops out myself. I think Fafita will stay on that bench personally, but I mean, he's as much a chance as Eisenhower is of dropping out. So I don't disagree with the person.
I think that I don't think they know who drops out. I think they're going to be battling for it for the first few games.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, new coach, new rules, like you're earning your spot now. So, I mean, you're right. The one of those two that cements their spot better. And I think Fafita has the game that can keep him in the side personally. Eisenhower's a very nuts and bolts kind of player.
Yeah. All righty. Last game of the week, we got the Cowboys versus the Dolphins. So, some big names here that could be in your team. So we'll look at. I think it was Timmy Williams. Was it? I think he put a post up about Hamaso being a sneaky little pod that he wants to try.
Yeah, don't hate it. Don't hate it at all.
Got some flair.
Yeah, he has. I don't hate the Fidel shout at all. I mean, I personally not doing. Is he available at centre wing?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
because I'd like him more at centre wing than I would at fullback. I mean, any fullback that I can buy in centre wing or second row, I can buy in centre wing.
I haven't looked, but I haven't looked at him, but I can guarantee you he would be available on centre wing. There's no way someone like Tim Williams will be putting him as his backup fullback.
That's right. Well, I mean, Tim does some crazy stuff, but I agree with you. I would imagine that if he's available at centre wing and his price point's all right, I don't hate it at all. He could be a player to go cheaper than RTS.
Another big, highly owned player on the wing there, we've got Bostock.
Yes.
Are you starting with Bostock?
No, I don't. So I had him on my bench for ages, but I've got a few. I've spent a bit I've got Burbo, Salmon, May, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, what's his name from the Raiders? The Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I got that. I can't remember who my other two are, but I got two others. So I think Kotrick's one of them. I went to Kotrick today, but it's risky. And I can't remember. Oh, the other one's that Tua Ua Piki. Tua Ua Piki. I say that 10 times in the shower. Tua Ua Piki. I love that name.
There's one thing here before I talk on one of my favourite players in the world, but we'll go to this guy here first. No one's really talking about the fact that we've got Katoa missing from this team list. He's not missing from the entire team list, though. I believe he's sitting there at 22, and we've got Nikorima, who's won that 5'8" spot.
Yeah. Well, look, Nikorima, to me, is a 14 as well. He's a player. I mean, like you and I both owned Nikorima last year, and he didn't disappoint, did he?
No, he was good to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, be interesting to see how that plays out, mate. But I think Nikorima has to be in the side, so that, Isaiah Katoa. I mean, Isaiah Katoa really was left wanting last year, wasn't he? I mean, he was the cheapie last year that just kept not giving. He just didn't seem to find anything, did he?
I think he did his job on the field.
He defends better than Nikorima. So Nikorima can be a bit of a speed bump. And I thought Isaiah Katoa's front on defence was good. That's probably why he made the side over him. But Nikorima in attack just offers so much. He's so quick and zippy, and he's got really good hands. And, so I understand why the coach has done it. But, that position looks volatile to me.
One player that I love, but I'm never going to get. This is one of my favourite players right now, and that's Herbie. I love me some Herbie. He's looking really good. But
mate, Herbie got me barred from Facebook for 30 days. Remember that?
Don't use that the P word, mate. You can't use the P word on Facebook.
Yeah, I said he's an incredible little player, that P word. And I got racism for 30 days.
I love it. But yeah, I'll be looking to get him later on. But if you're gonna pot up in that position, I think you'd rather get someone with a bit more upside. I think Herbie is safe, and we'll get you like a 60, 70. But very rarely get you that real big one. But yeah, no, I like Herbie. I love Herbie. Anyone else here that you'd be looking at in the back line?
Well, I'm not looking at, but the two players that people are looking at is Jeremy Marshall-King. He's a bit cheaper than Ari. And the other one, obviously, is Flegler. But they also have an early buy. And, so, I mean, I don't begrudge Flegler. I get why people are doing it, and I don't hate JMK either. The only thing I will say about Jeremy Marshall-King is he spends a lot of time off the field. He's a walking injury. And,
something to keep an eye on there for one of the guys on the bench there, Max Plath.
Yeah, yep.
So Max Plath is nice and cheap. I think he's around the 270 mark.
Yeah. Where do you see him coming on?
Oh, honestly, I see him taking over Ray Stone, who we haven't spoken about either.
Yeah. Well, I looked at Ray Stone today. I talked him over with Tyrone, but we don't believe job security there's good either. But, I like Ray Stone's work rate. He's someone we were looking at last year, but he never got the minutes that we predicted that he would.
Yeah. And what I will say in this team as well, we always look at the bench, but then look at the reserves in this team. Jared Wallace, Jake Avarillo, then obviously Oren Keeley was not the biggest name. Then you got Ewan Aiken, Isaiah Katoa, massive names who played a lot of NRL last year. On the reserves there, I can see some big changes happening. I think that
and you could be right, mate. I mean, Ewan Aiken could definitely come into that team. I mean, I'm surprised he's not. I mean, look, I get it. Tessinu, Ozako, Farnworth, Boxstock's won the spot. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he won't. But I'm very surprised to not see you and Aiken there. I mean, Aiken's a great defender. He runs really good lines. He can play centre wing. He can play second row. He's a very versatile player.
Yeah, I've got him in one
But
of my
he's getting
drafts.
older.
It was one of my keepers in my draft, and I just noticed it. I'm like, wait a minute, he's got a red
Yeah.
circle there. There's no green dot, and I was a bit shocked by that. So I had to have a look at it. So,
Yeah, right.
but I think Jake Averillo would move in for testing you, I believe, because I think Averillo had an injury scare, and I think they're going to wait till last minute to pretty much let him play
Yeah.
if he's not going to play. So I think
Okay,
Averillo's
yeah.
got that spot. Yeah.
Mate, I'm a big fan of Tessie New. He's one of them players. So two players that used to get bagged a lot were Isako and Tessie New when they were at the Broncos. And I've always been an advocate for both. Isako proved me right last year. Tessie New's going to prove me right if he gets to play this year.
Yeah, and I just don't. Honestly, I'd be really surprised if he does get to play. But I think they've
I agree with
already
you. I
marked
think
Averillo,
Gabriello
which is
would.
unfair. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Alrighty, another one of the fullbacks that I'm scared to not own, mate, over the Cowboys, Scotty Drinkwater, mate. This is going to be he could do anything. Cowboys, and the thing is with the Cowboys, we want to try and prepare for the season. They don't have a bye till round 13, straight through.
Mate, I started with Latrell and Ponga because they're both goal kicking fullbacks, right? Then I looked at Turbo. I thought I've got to have Turbo, but I'm keeping Ponga, right? Ponga's my mainstay, so I swapped Latrell to Turbo. Then I looked at Drinkwater and I swapped Turbo to Drinkwater, but then I was too scared not to own Turbo. Where it's one of them years, right? And I think that the draw is more conducive to Drinkwater than any other fullback, just quietly. And he does find points. So he's the one I'll be the most nervous about watching this weekend.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Especially with I wouldn't say inexperience, but like it's almost a new look forward pack, I guess. And he can run right through. Like it's a new look team almost. So
well, what I will say about this Dolphins pack, it's a defensive team, right? You look at that: Stone, Leilua, Kafusi, Flegler, King, and Bromwich. They're all good defending players. You know what I mean? I noticed the other Bromwich boys not here anymore. Oh, yeah, he's on the bench, righto. Yeah, even with their bench coming on, Plath, Bromwich, Nichols, they're all good defenders too, Kerr. That's a very good defensive side. And then you've got Farnsworth and Isako, good defenders. Tessie News, a bit sketchy, and Cody Nicorima's a bit of a worry in the middle. But I think they'll defend better than you think.
You're right. Yeah, that's what he does though. That's what the old man, the old coach does. He gets that solid defensive team. He build the foundation first, and then worries with the rest later.
That's right. And he likes quick play the balls like he had at the Bunnies.
All right, I'm gonna ruin one of my little sneaky surprises for myself. I'm gonna share my pod that I've got backing up RPS. No,
is it Dearden?
No, it is Laybut.
Oh, Laybut, right.
Nice cheap price, or well, not cheap. He's mid price, and I had enough money there to kind of upgrade Hutchison to Laybut. I like the draw they've got. I think he looks good. Very, very exciting to watch.
And he's on the edge that you like, that left edge as well.
That's why I liked it. But in saying that, I did have Dearden in my team at one point as well this afternoon, just quietly. So.
I really like the Dearden shout. So if you're looking for a second 5'8" with upside, Dearden's your man. I think Dearden in that side, a couple of years of belt under his experience, he takes on the line. He's actually a really good footballer. And I do see the upside with that draw with Dearden. And I think Laybut's also a good play. We were talking about Laybut earlier in the season. We were worried he wasn't going to get that spot. He ended up getting it. And, how much is Laybut? 320 or something, isn't he?
No, a bit more than that. He's around the mid-4s.
420.
Yeah, around 420, 430, I think he is around there. He's not cheap.
Yeah, right.
He had a bit of a good season. He had a few good games last year. That's why his price was a bit high. But I just had that spare bit of cash, and I was like, I kind of like the idea of it. And there was a lot of these players that I've got in my team that I'm like not liking. Like Drew Hutchison was in my team just because he had a green dot next to his name, and I'm like, oh, I don't like it. But 9
to 13, we could own any one of those players. Reece Robertson we'll talk about first. He seems to be the poor man's Harry at the moment. Most people are trading down Harry to Reece to be able to afford to upgrade elsewhere. The draw's good. Reece Robertson, I think you'll get your points from him that you need. He's not Harry Grant, obviously. That's why you're paying a couple of $100K less. But he's highly owned.
One thing I'm looking at here as well is we've already touched on him a few times today. Is Ruben Cotter. I really like Cotter. I think looking at that bench, I think and the forward lineup, I think I can see Lolo and McLean coming off and Cotter staying on for some longer minutes.
Yeah, I think he'll get 65 minutes at least.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. And the other thing is, if an injury does happen in that forward pack, the coach knows he can play 80, and he can play
That's
80
right.
at a very, very high level. He has one of the best motors in the front row I've ever seen. So,
So the two
uh,
players we've gone past that I want to mention, right? So Tamalalo, he's priced at a 50 average at the moment. I think that if you're looking for a front rower, Tamalalo isn't a terrible shout at his price point, right? And the other one is in my side and has been since he was it's Heelan Lukey. Heelan Lukey on that edge. He's a workhorse. I just really like Nanai and Lukey. The only difference between the two is price. You know, the other thing though is that Nanai will get his 80 minutes. I'm still not convinced 100% that Lukey does. Looking at that bench, I agree with you. McLean and Tamalalo come off, and it's where Granville comes in that worries me, which could be for Cotter. Griffin, Neems, McIntyre. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'll find Lefecki as well. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
I had Lukey in my team all season, and then I had a look at one player on that bench that I think takes some minutes from him, just because Lukey has had a history of bad injuries, and that's
McIntyre.
that. No, Fanafuki. I can't even pronounce his name.
Oh yeah,
Fanafuaki, who
yeah.
is we all know what he can. He's an excitement machine. So it might
Yeah,
not be very many minutes, but he will come on at one point, and I can see it being on the edge and pushing Lukey off because now I play as 80.
yeah. Well, I'm holding Lukey at the moment, but if that should
Yeah.
happen, we have an abundance of players we can switch to, which is
Oh
great.
man.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for 3 rounds, and then I'm going to decide on my second rowers. Then I want to get a good look at rotations first couple of weeks and see, what I see unfold.
Yeah. Anyone else in this team before we finish up with it? I think we're pretty nice
No,
in the
we've
little.
covered it.
Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So, all right. I think that's pretty much it. So, one thing I will say before we finish up, make sure if you guys is still not still plenty of time to go in and purchase your Supercoach Champions ring for your private fantasy league. Make sure you go to the website www.supercoachchampions.com. Pick up your ring there. Use code TRAGICS to get a discount of 10%. And yeah, great little prize at the end of your super coach here.
And
And
our
one last,
sponsor as well.
yeah, of course, and one last thing, I'll go to Rugby League Fantasy Pro. I've got 3 screens going at the moment. One of those screens has got Rugby League Fantasy Pro on there now. So go to the rugbyleaguefantasypro.com. Use code TRAGICS10 to get $10 off your first year's subscription. Some of the coolest stats on here. I was just pulling up stats as I'm going along. It was that easy to do. It depends on what stats you want. You can get player stats, full on New South Wales Cup and Queensland Cup stats. Only site that does that, which is fantastic. So if you want to take that Supercoach to the next level, guys, jump onto that website and use code TRAGICS10.
That's right. And if you want to be good at Supercoach, you need to read the stats, especially the first 3 rounds. And he updates them really quickly, which is what you need. After each round gets done, you can go through, look at each player and see how many runs they've had, how many tackles, what their base is, what their base plus power, all those different interesting stats are the stats that will get you ahead in Supercoach. Well, a lot of us, when we first start playing the game, we rule with our heart as opposed to our head. And you want to learn the different things like tackle bus offloads and the different things. So look at the scoring in Supercoach as to how points are scored. Then go looking at the statistics that are made up in this page, and that'll lead you towards the better players that are more likely to get you consistent points.
100%. And I'm not even a big stats guy, but I'm getting more experience looking at this and finding them invaluable. So
2 more things to mention. Once Brode's comps, remember he's got the $20 cash comp and the knockout comp and what's the other one?
Oh yeah, so we've got the $5. Because I think we're going to be locking out those comps. Because they're past the first round. However, the $5 knockout comp will be open until round 18. We're going to do it at the end of the year. So if you want to jump in that $5 knockout comp, guys, it's great fun. I just I put together a really pretty looking spreadsheet. we get as many people as we can into that $5 comp, and we just put random head-to-heads, and we just go through until we finish at the end in the last round. Good fun there. Winner takes all. So, as always, gamble responsibly.
And the last thing of all is the Andrew Johns Cop. So I've done all the stuff today. Everybody's teams are in. Everybody's joined the comp. So thank you for that. And good luck this season. We've got to knock off SS this year. They won it last year and the BBL. We cannot have someone winning both. That's just not happening. Tragics and Hub are both previous winners as well. So we need to get one other. So let's make this competition a good one.
Yeah, sounds good. And the Team Herbies might not be doing too well. I've got a few sympathy guys in our team. We just put in a team because we feel sorry for them. So
yeah, God, I know.
Love it. All right, guys. Thanks heaps for tuning in. We'll see. Good luck this week, and we'll see you all next week. Peace out.